Hi, I'm Shamar Griffith, codename Comic Shams.
And I'm Andrew Tejada, codename Arate.
I'm a blurred with a love for artwork and comics and animation.
And I'm a writer in Blurred with a love for pretty much the same things.
We grew up together and spent much of our formative years watching and talking about DC superhero shows and content. In fact, we still do.
Every episode, we will discuss a DC production, compare it to its original source material, and share our thoughts on the adaptation.
We've enjoyed our conversations these past couple of decades, and we think you will too.
This season, we're looking at 16 years of DC animated movies to see which stories are sweet and which ones are sour on
yet another DC animated podcast, part of the Forgotten Entertainment family. Welcome to yet another episode of yet another DC animated podcast. My name is Shamar Griffith, codename Comic Shams.
And I am Andrew Tejada, codename Arate.
Andrew and I have known each other since 1996.
That was the year the world was introduced to a little heroine named Lara Croft. That was her debut year. Fresh hero. They accidentally went a little bit too far on certain feature, and they said, let's go with it. And that's history for you guys.
Yep. I see it. It's all coming full circle, or should I say square, I guess, because of that feature.
Very pointy indeed, Andrew.
Getting to the point of it. But in a very similar introduction, we are talking about another heroine that was introduced to us. Very similar name too.
Yeah, well,
was this planned?
In this movie, it's kind of not. Well, we'll get to it. We'll get to it.
Yes, because the heroine we were talking about today is Supergirl, because we were talking about Batman. Well, rather, Superman, Batman, Apocalypse. They're still fighting over who gets the top title card, I guess.
They keep fighting.
At a runtime of 78 minutes, this is our next film in our sweet and sour best of throughout the DC years. As we were talking about the 2010 film that was released by DC Entertainment and Warner Premiere, we welcome Lauren Montgomery to director's seat, who has done such great work already in the DC universe, animated universe, and stuff that we've seen. Like, she was the co-director on Crisis on Two Earths, and she also went on to actually direct the Wonder Woman film, probably the best Wonder Woman film we've ever had.
Oh, good. Not the other one.
Oh, yeah. No. Terry Lord, not that one. And if you're looking forward to more of her work, then definitely she's actually done a lot of episodes of Legend of Korra and is slated to be the director for the Paramount Pictures version of the Last Airbender film, not the Netflix one that they're trying to create. Just so that we can mentally prepare ourselves, just want to say this is a PG-13 film. We have to make sure of that because we've been realizing there has been some very adult themes in a lot of these DC Entertainment stuff recently.
Yeah, they've been going hard.
Yeah, it's like a really wild, like Power Girl, and I guess also a lot of the scenes that were happening in this film too, which we'll talk about soon. But the main plot for this is the aftermath of the Public Enemies film that we just reviewed. So now it's basically that same meteor that was making its way towards Earth, that got destroyed, pieces of it fell to Earth. And now from it, we get Supergirl, who is entering through that meteor. And this could be a spoiler, but this is... this possibly, but this may be adapted. I'm 90% sure if you've been keeping up with Young Justice, this is probably going to be season 5.
Yeah, it'll feels like that's where they're leaning towards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Side note, please renew Young Justice on HBO Max. I don't think it's gotten it yet as of today.
Yeah, just stop playing around. Just keep it going.
Right, exactly. You created 2 whole networks, 2 whole streaming services for it. Like, at this point, just give it to us.
Yeah, come on.
All right, so because this is a bit of a sequel, it actually is a sequel to our Public Enemies film, the cast list is pretty much the same. We got Tim Daly as Superman, Kevin Conroy as Batman. We do have some new players coming in, as we have Summer Glau, who you'll know her from Firefly to Serenity to Terminator, the Sarah Connor Chronicles, and Dollhouse. She is voicing Kara Zor-El in our film. Next, we have Susan Eisenberg, who rounds out our Trinity here as she returns as the voice of Wonder Woman. You know her as the animated voice of Wonder Woman in the Tim Dennyverse. Then we got Julia Grossman, who's voicing Barda. Big Barda for the comics, but Barda for our film here. Next up, you know him as Santa in several films, especially like in Elf. Carl Fredricksen, you'll also know that name because of that character in Up. But more importantly, Edward Asner is voicing Granny Goodness today.
You know what? I vibe with it.
You know why you vibe with it? He's been voicing Granny Goodness in every single animated production that we grew up in.
This guy, what a stable job.
Right?
Being an old, strong grandma.
And finally, we wrap up our cast list with a man's voice who basically sounds like Rolling Thunder. That is pulled right from one of his shows, as we have Andre Braugher, who is voicing our big bad Darkseid today.
Yeah, you need that booming voice, and he's definitely got it.
So let's boom tube head on over to the beginning of our film as we open up to Superman, Batman, Apocalypse.
So in a question that the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles wanted answered, here it is. The blimps around Gotham are revealed to be surveillance drones of some sort, unmanned, and they point light everywhere. Can you imagine, though? Like, you're just walking down the street and this blimp light hits you in the face. Like, you're going to be blinded. Jesus.
I was thinking about that. I was like, we technically have something like that already with those like random stands the cops keep putting up on all the quote unquote problem area blocks. And I was like, did they get this idea from Batman?
Yeah, probably. I don't know how to take anything from Gotham. Nothing works there. But so yeah, we're seeing it's directly connected to the last movie because they're talking about the impeachment. They're talking about Superman's testifying, and then all of the exposition is interrupted by a pod landing in the dirtiest river in Gotham City.
It was so dirty.
This thing was disgusting.
It was brown. That's nasty.
Jesus, guys.
And following that pod that crashes into Gotham Harbor, we hear everybody's going frantic over it, but Batman immediately jumps in because, you know, Batman loves them sewers. So he jumps into this dirty water to start picking out pieces of kryptonite. This is, again, the aftermath of Public Enemies, as it's known that the meteor was supposed to crash, and everybody's been talking about that. So once he picks up a piece, he turns around and sees that there's a giant ship, this kind of like definitely Kryptonian looking ship inside the harbor. So he goes to investigate. But while he's investigating, we see that there is a person, a long-haired person, trying to enter the Batboat. And yes, that is the actual name of the device that he is using.
Yeah, maybe don't leave your Batboat door open.
Right,
Gotham, man. Like, do you know where you are? Like, come on. No fingerprint code or anything. So Batman chases it with his grappling hook, but he is unable to stop the car before it crashes. The first sign that this is one kind of Batman who doesn't really care about life. And there will be many more signs, but this is the first. And we cut to very, very intricate and a little bit long credits for this movie.
Yeah, so long. This was the extra like 18 minutes I think they added in compared to our last film.
Yeah. What? I don't quite understand why we had so much.
So as the credits finish rolling, we see that the same person who stole the Batboat is now walking the streets. It's clear that it's a woman who's completely naked as she happens across these three guys who are doing some after work. They're like working, they're stocking up a truck or something, and she's trying to talk to them because one of them notices her, as one tries to say that, oh, she must be Swedish, so let me go and try and take care of her. And then another guy kind of like backs it up. So this leads to, guys, why you should, not be creepy, because they immediately get their asses whooped when as one of them tries to extend a hand out to grab at her, she crushes his fingers. The other one, he gets flung all the way to the end. And I do love this one black man who's a part of this crew who's just like, nope, I'm not the one. Not today. I am going to give her my jackets and I'm going to go along my way.
Yeah, I do appreciate this guy immediately. Like, you know what? No. I'm here for overtime. I'm not here to get beaten up by an alien. Let's go. So Supergirl runs out into the street. She almost gets hit by a car and stops it, which prompts the police to start chasing her. What? She almost got hit by a car and miraculously didn't die. Why is the entire Gotham police force not only chasing her, but they start shooting immediately as soon as she starts flying? What the hell's going on here, Gotham? I get it. Normally, you should do this, but why now? Why are you doing this?
Gotham PD, I need to see their manual, their procedure protocols book, because I'm pretty sure there's actually a law in there for them about this, because the fact that they all did it on site is a little weird. But as she's flying off at this moment, she catches onto a skyscraper and Batman magically appears in his own way to try to stop her from flying even further. However, because it's Batman and his scary ways, she immediately kicks him off where he's sent flying, causing her to, I want to say she flew through either one of the blimps or she heat visioned one of the blimps.
Kind of both.
Kind of both.
Little column A, column B.
So now Batman's freaking out because one of these new blimps are just like falling through the sky as the girl, she now flies off, still kind of like very sporadically, as Superman flies in to save them, everybody from the blimp crashing into Gotham.
I like how Batman was like, I don't have this at all. I'm just going to let this happen. His second big disregard for life in this movie. But luckily, Superman is there to take the blimp, make sure no one gets hurt. Batman knocks out Supergirl with a piece of kryptonite that he had saved, because you knew he was pocketing that thing.
Mm-hmm.
And here's one of the most funny right away, like, world's greatest detective ? Where he's scanning her and he's like, whoop, she's not human. Bro, did you get that from the fact kryptonite worked on her, the fact that she could fly, or that she survived an explosion? None of those set you like, oh, maybe she's not human. Why is this news, Batman? You're a detective. You figured this out already.
It's clear that Batman needs his Bat computer in order to figure out the simplest things, which means that this movie did a great job in giving Batman a crutch here, because upon waking up, the girl decides to heat vision Batman's Bat computer, completely destroying it as she once again tries to fly away, scared of her power. She's trying to cover her eyes, but Superman's in the room, so he's able to catch her upon hearing her speak Kryptonian.
Yeah, Batman's like, speak English. Batman, speak tolerance, okay? Like, can't just tell people to speak English like that, which he will later. Superman figures out by talking Kryptonian that this is, which is going to annoy me for the rest of the movie, and I want to address it now because I'm going to say it the way I want to. Mm-hmm. They call her Kara in this movie for some damn reason. I'm calling her Kara for the rest of this. I do not care about anyone's feelings. Her name is Kara Zor-El. That it sounds better. It's too late to change it now. So he finds out that this is his cousin, and he wants to defend her, and we get a brief flashback where she was also set in a rocket as a kid. Well, one sec on that. So the rocket explodes in her face and sends her flying through space. How old is she?
Yeah, I've been trying to figure this out for so long, because, but like, based off comic book stuff, she's supposed to be a teenager, like somewhere between 15 to 18. But they don't really explain something which is a big deal about her being put in a stasis because of the fact that she was hit in the face with this blast. And it does question, like, wouldn't she have been technically older because you're not even saying that she was put in the stasis pod? Like, Superman grew up when he was in his ship. Like,
Right.
so
Is she the same age she left? Did she grow up during the journey?
Yeah, because like it's also weird that like another big plot point too is that like she doesn't have any memory whatsoever, it seems like. And it's like, is that because she was also a kid that only really remembers the small stuff? Or is it because the blast was so hard, she was put in stasis, and now everything is still like coming back? Either way, it doesn't make sense. And it's because they missed that big part about her being put in stasis, which I'm mad about.
Yeah, they kind of glossed right over it. It kind of feels as if Krypton exploded and then she ended up here.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it. There was no other but there's a huge piece of that does not make sense because of time. Like theoretically she should have aged as much as her cousin did.
Right.
But they just glance over that.
Literally every single time they've introduced Supergirl anyway, they made clear about her being put in stasis. And that's a demerit for you, film.
Yeah.
50 points from Apocalypse.
Speaking of Apocalypse, we head over there where we have a woman named Treasure is fighting to be the top of the Furies, of Darkseid's Furies. And she don't do too well because though she has some promise at first, 4-on-1 jumping her is just not fair odds. And she is brutally murdered in front of Granny Goodness. And Darkseid tells Granny Goodness, I'm disappointed in your selection. Get a better draft pick. And in fact, I have one right on Earth. I don't know how he knew about it, but he says, go get me Kara Zor-El on Earth. And Granny Goodness sets upon doing that immediately. And by immediately, I mean it will take at least 2 to 3 months.
Yeah, because during those 2 to 3 months, we see that Clark is really just like loving the fact that he has a cousin now. He loves the fact that he has this connection to Krypton. So he's trying to show her basically his entire world, but from the point of view of him being Clark Kent versus Superman, which does cause some tension between Batman and Superman. But as they're traveling through Metropolis, Kara is going through with Clark, trying to learn what it's like to be an Earth girl. So he decides to do so by taking her shopping. Basically, they're going to the mall that Metropolis has. And I do think this scene was fun because it does tie in a little bit to something that happened before, in which upon the destruction of the Bat computer, Superman offers to pay for it, but Batman's just like, you don't have $50,000 on the reporter's salary. So seeing Clark spending all this money on clothes for Kara is kind of funny because he's like it's the typical, kind of like dad taking his teenage daughter shopping TV trope where it's just like he's just flabbergasted at the cost of everything.
Yeah. No, it's a cute scene. Goes on a little long.
Yeah, it's like this. At one point, she has like a Sailor Moon transformation. It feels like. Yeah,
she has like this supposed to be scandalous outfit, and he's like, "Oh no," and she's like, "I'll buy it anyway," and it's like, okay, but we still don't really know who she is yet, so it's kind of weird to have the scene. But that aside, they're hanging out. They've had the junk food. Supergirl worries about pieces of dog being in the hot dog, and depending on the universe you're in, that may be a real concern. And just as they're enjoying the day, Superman gets jumped by a bunch of mysterious shadowy figures. They try to take Kara before it's revealed it is Wonder Woman and some Amazons trying to take Kara, which leads me immediately to the question, could they have not asked?
Yo.
Why did they think jumping him in a park was the best way to get Kara?
It is honestly the dumbest thing I've ever seen, because Superman has always been the person who would listen to reason. Like, I don't think just jumping them, especially because I'm pretty sure if Kara is at risk and he's like this protective of her in the film already, Superman would have killed somebody, like on site, killed somebody, because it's a plot point for the rest of the film of how he's going to kill somebody to protect her. So Wonder Woman and this other hero who is Harbinger and Batman teamed up to concoct this plan, and honestly, it is the dumbest plan I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah, I just don't understand why they thought this was gonna work. Wouldn't the easiest way to get Kara to cooperate is to be like, hey, do you want to do an internship with the Amazons? Like, I don't think that would have been too far-fetched to ask.
Yeah.
But
would you like to just live with them and that's it? Just stay here with them. You're still on Earth.
Yeah, you can visit. Like, they're letting you there. Anyway, Kara does go along and she trains with the Amazons for 2 months. She learns how to sword fight, which, sure, why not? I guess it doesn't come back later, but she does learn how to sword fight. And in the middle of an intense training match, Superman steps in, prompting Kara to be like, yo, what the hell? What, you can't control my life? And he's like, yes, I can. And it's like, oh, buddy, super, calm down now. Calm down. So Kara walks away angrily with her friend Lila / Harbinger, and the rest of the heroes are just enjoying a nice lemonade until they hear a noise.
Yes, they immediately hear the opening of a boom tube as Doomsday comes through, and it is already confirmed in this universe that Doomsday has already killed Superman in the past. So they immediately jump into action. However, Batman does stop them for a split second because he realizes that the boom tube isn't closing as more and more copies of Doomsday start appearing onto the sand. This prompts Diana, Wonder Woman here, to call forth the rest of the Amazons to come into battle as they all team up to take down the army of Doomsdays that are attacking. All while Lila and Kara are actually having a really nice conversation about just basically how Kara feels like she doesn't really have a say in what her life is being dictated towards, and Lila comparing that to her own abilities about being able to see the past, the present, and just like the dangers really of those around her, and knowing that like these things must play out. So it's a weird comparison, but it's kind of nice to see that Kara, being the fact that like she hasn't had much agency yet in this entire film, does find somebody that she can connect with on how she's feeling about not being able to do what she wants. All while Batman gets a battle axe.
Let's also stop that right there, because 2 movies ago, Superman died to beat one Doomsday. We all recognize this, and these might be knockoff clones, whatever. What is an axe going to do for Batman in this scenario? What is the axe made out of? Magic? Bullshit? A combination of both? Because there is nothing Batman with an axe is going to do against the Doomsday. Absolutely outrageous. Give him like a laser, a Batcopter, something. But you telling me an axe is going to do it? No, I refuse. So in any case, they fight for a while. There's a commentary about these Doomsdays are soulless husks, but don't worry, they're not going to follow up on that either. And but Superman just hits up B, start, select, unleashes his combo move of instantly lasering the army away. He could have led with that, but whatever. He did it now, and now they're all gone, and they realize something else might be gone as well.
But before we do that, there is one line in which Superman says that was just like, basically the line is that upon unaliving all these Doomsdays, he breaks down and states, I didn't want to kill them. And it's just like, agreeing with Diana here, they were never alive. They were not sentient. They were literally, you might as well just have been turning on the light on shadows. You were good. it's weird that like he got so sad about that. Like that was the moment that they chose to be like, let's question Superman's moral code about killing. I I don't either way, because we have to talk about another death anyway, because as Batman during the battle, realizing I guess the battle axe wasn't as effective as he thought, realizes that something's wrong. So he heads on over to find Lila and Kara, and he ends up standing above a body of a blonde woman. It's not known yet at this point, but as Superman and Wonder Woman fly on over, they immediately think it's Kara, because at one point, another plot point during the film, Harbinger could see the future, sees a blonde woman being picked up by Superman appearing to be dead, and we're all assuming that this person is supposed to be Kara, when in fact it ends up actually being Lila, who sacrificed herself protecting Kara from being taken by Darkseid. Fortunately, Kara still gets taken by Darkseid.
Yep. And in a brief scene, we see her in jail with Darkseid. And Darkseid gives, his typical bad guy, intimidating speech, biggest conqueror in the room speech. And I suppose it is implied that he does some brainwashing of some sort to Kara. Again, don't worry about it. They're not really going to unpack that at all. But he's brainwashing Kara. And meanwhile, Superman decides to go with Wonder Woman and Batman to visit a former Fury that is just in a towel. The entire scene with her blinds are open and everything. So it's not even the fact, she just doesn't care.
She doesn't care. Ironically, though, for me, she was also the most Jack character of our entire film. I know there was
I'll give it to her.
Yeah, there was one other person who was bigger, but this woman just honestly felt like she was taller than Superman. So we get introduced now to Barda, who is a former Fury, one of Darkseid's Furies. He's actually the former leader of the Furies, the honor guard that Darkseid has on Apocalypse. We briefly learn that she escaped from Apocalypse alongside her husband. Well, comic book knowledge is known that her husband, Scott Free or Mr. Miracle, two of them broke out from Apocalypse. But she's living her life basically in this small, quaint cul-de-sac suburbia. And all her neighbors are just freaking out when they see that Superman and Wonder Woman appear. Batman has somehow already broken into the house. I'm a little worried about how long he was just waiting there watching Barda walk around in the towel.
Yeah.
And they have this conversation. Just basically, is Superman and the rest of the Trinity catching her up to the fact that they need her help to travel to Apocalypse because Kara was taken, and Superman is willing to do anything in order to head over to take down Darkseid to save Kara. And rightfully so. Barda does question a lot about it. She's like, really kind of testing them to see, like, is your head in the game? Do you really know what you're up against? Are you sure you want to protect this person? Like this, you've never done this before. And like, I know the route, but I'm not going to risk my exposure and your lives for someone you don't even think you maybe care about that much.
Yeah, and she makes all good points, but she just instantly changes her mind.
Yeah, whatever.
She just goes in her room, is like, all right, we're going, right? And they're like, okay, I guess. Just speeding right along, they take a boom tube to Apocalypse, and they all kind of split up to do a different part of the mission they discussed off screen. Superman punches up from some fire from a dog, giant dog creature, maybe. Machine.
It looked kind of like an attempt at the Dragon Zord.
Yeah,
right?
Something like that. Something organic, but metal on the outside.
Because I also do want to point out that the parademons who were operating this looked a lot like Ninja Turtles.
I was gonna say the same thing.
It was really weird. Like,
why is this design? It was so weird. So while Superman's fighting the Ninja Turtles, the crossover we didn't get before, I am now instituting a new rule because I've been seeing this in superhero movies and TV shows so much lately that I'm now going to point out whenever it's sewer time. whenever the heroes have to, one or more heroes have to just go into the sewer to get around, it's sewer time for Wonder Woman and Barda. And they have a nice little exchange about how Barda was inspired by Wonder Woman and wanted to do better by her. Would this have been great to like build out in a better fashion over the course of the movie? Yes.
Yeah.
But here you go. It just happens in the sewer, and then they're in the arena to deal with Furies.
And it is an impressive fight. I will give this movie this one thing. Like right up here is like when the impressive fights happen. Like I think the battle between Kara and Artemis was like decent at best, but this is when it was just like, okay, we can see that they decided to add in a bit more time when it came to the animation of the fights, because Barda and Wonder Woman take on the entire list of Furies. That's Guillotina, that's Stampa, that's Lashina, and that's Mad Harriet. I am not making up these names. So all being led by Granny Goodness, who's just like acting as general from above. Superman is getting tackled by some kind of robotic jackal version of Metallos, like just coming at him. And Batman is doing his best to use like a version of Orion's like travel thing, which is called the Astro Harness, the little like hoverboard kind of thing, to make his way through Apocalypse to get to his next stage. But this fight with Barda and Wonder Woman is just amazing, because we can see how the two of them really work well together, especially because we know that Barda is one of the top fighters, was one of the top fighters on Apocalypse. And it's not even like she was defeated. She vacated the title. So, and then to team her up with Wonder Woman, like all of these fights were amazing because of the fact that Barda points out she trained the Furies. So at this point, there are people getting killed. Stampa gets stabbed through the chest from the back by Barda when Stampa tried to take out Wonder Woman. And then this leads to Wonder Woman trying to take down Mad Harriet, but unfortunately Barda gets captured when it seems like Granny Goodness just jumped through with the steel chair from behind before the referee turned around in time. So now we're at that moment of just like, we were wondering, will Barda die? Because she's like, don't worry about me, Diana. Just never surrender. Let them kill me and just keep on going. And I'm just like, no, you're literally our best bet here.
Yeah, I do love her hardcore. Just like, nah, I'm good. Just I can die. That's fine. Just don't let them win. But luckily, they are able to take a brief second advantage when Wonder Woman uses her lasso. They break free, and there's a moment where Barda can kill Granny Goodness, but it's a whole like moral question of why she shouldn't. Why? Why though? Because you guys have been killing people since you got here, including some of the Furies.
Yeah.
So there's really no. I get like she wasn't actively fighting, and maybe that's what they were going for, that it wouldn't have been self-defense. But I thought there was a missed opportunity there, because they absolutely should kill Granny Goodness. Absolutely. But they don't. Meanwhile, Batman jumps out of a giant dog. Don't worry about it. And it's revealed that he has set up some spores in Darkseid's basement that if they explode, they will essentially take out the entire planet. And Darkseid smacks him around, tries to get him to admit he's bluffing, but he buys Batman's poker face and decides, you know what? Fine, take Kara and go. But there's a little bit of a problem with Kara before she goes anywhere.
Yeah, because it seems like Kara, one, has gotten another outfit change. She's now wearing this like very vampiric looking outfit, as Darkseid tells Superman as he arrives that Kara is more than welcome to leave if she wants to, which shows the extent of Kara's brainwashing, because she immediately starts to attack Superman upon Darkseid's orders. This leads to a battle inside Darkseid's throne room, to then outside into one of his hell pits, where they are just fighting through this fire. And it's clear that Kara is definitely a great fighter. I think definitely all that training that she got on the all that training that she got in Themyscira and probably a little bit here is being shown as she's giving Superman the work. Fortunately for Superman, though, I guess he pulls ahead in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I guess it's implied like most of the fight he's holding back, and then he just decides to fight better, and the fight's over instantly.
What is this? What is that Disney movie? It's just like just skate better, fight better, Superman, just fight better.
Maybe Brink. I'm not sure, but
so yeah, our heroes go home as Kara wakes up in Themyscira.
Yeah, and at this point, she is just happy to be home. She says she got brainwashed and did terrible things. When? Because from a narrative standpoint, it literally looks like she got brainwashed. She had an outfit change, and then she punched her cousin a little bit. And I'm like, that's honestly, everybody does that. Like, even Batman has done that. You're like, what terrible things have you done? The timing in this movie is so bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
But she decides that to hang out and say, show her face around the heroes, see the statue to her deceased friend. And there's a weird moment where she says her mother's name to Batman, because Batman asked her earlier, do you remember your mother's name? And she couldn't at the time. And she says her mother's name, and Batman smiles.
Mm-hmm.
It reminded me of like, why did you say that name? In reverse. And also, was this a thing they were building up to?
Yeah, because it would have made sense if like they had shown at some point if Superman said the name to Batman and he was like testing her, but like she could have literally said any name and gotten away with it. So
facts.
But so Clark decides that maybe she just needs some time to just become an Earth girl once again. So he decides to take her to Smallville to go stay with his adoptive parents, John and Martha Kent. And the entire time they're having this conversation, and she's wondering, like, will they like her? And she's also wondering about his own her own place in the world, because compared to Clark's, because she's saying that he can be Clark, he could be Kal-El, he could be Superman. He's created this whole set of lives and life for himself, to the point it involves a wife, and way to drop this, a son.
Yeah,
it was just like, okay, cool. Superman as a kid didn't realize we were never going to get introduced to that. So, and he's just telling her that it's basically okay, that his parents will love her just as much as they loved him. And as he is getting ready to open the door to see if Ma Kent's baking her famous apple pie, instead of a pie, Clark gets a knuckle sandwich right to the face from Darkseid.
I can't even lie. I've had my issues with the movie, but this is the most gangster thing I've ever seen.
This is
showing up at your enemy's parents' house to punch them as soon as it's on site, as soon as they get to the door. No one sees it coming, and he just goes, promise to come after Kara. Not to come after Kara, but I didn't say anything about killing you, and you're long overdue. Oof. I love this introduction. He immediately hits Superman with those Omega beams, throws him into space, and just assumes he's dead, so that now Kara and Darkseid can fight while absolutely destroying this farm. I will say a little part of the choreography I did like particularly is a part where Kara lasers Darkseid's feet. He's like, ow! And I'm like, what? Why? But I didn't hate it, but I'm like, this is such a weird detail to add to this fight.
Darkseid got them corns, he got.
Oh yeah,
that's what it was. They were cooking. And oh man, this fight was amazing though, because she's really showing like the way that I feel like she was definitely holding back on Apocalypse, because the way that she was giving Darkseid the work this time around, like the way she was dodging things, the grapple hooks, the like basically she was suplexing this dude, and he couldn't take it until, unfortunately, he does hit her with the Omega beams. I swear this would be cheating with those things. Because she eventually ends up getting knocked out because of it, and this gives Superman time to recuperate because somehow he get hit so far that he flew close to the sun, giving him time to recharge. As he flies back down, Darkseid's about to leave, and this is when, upon trying to stop Darkseid from entering the boom tube, which I wish that they changed the line here, because he tells the Darkseid that, did you really think we're going to let you leave that easily? And I was just like, I really just wanted him to say round 2, man.
Yeah.
Like, you had it right there and you just did it. Oh, well. But round 2 starts as Superman starts putting in that work, and I'm pretty sure that Darkseid died like 5 times.
Yeah, I do love the choreography here is great. There's a moment where Superman is like in a tornado around Darkseid, shooting laser beams and like marking up his entire body. Darkseid hits Superman with the Omega beam straight to the face. And as good as this fight is, I have to ask, why did Darkseid come here? Because I believe he came to kill Superman. Superman is clearly fine, and he was just gonna dip. I don't understand what you accomplished today.
Yeah, it did not make any sense whatsoever, and that's an issue I have, which I'll talk about in the comic book section. But we gotta wrap up our film here because mainly because I don't want to deal with it anymore, but also because this distraction gives Supergirl enough time to recover. She grabs the mother box that Darkseid uses to travel through the boom tubes, and she turns it back on while Superman's able to laser vision Darkseid through the boom tube. As the two of them, Superman and Kara, just relax. You know, they dealt through a lot, and Superman's thinking about how Darkseid's going to come back, to which Kara says, well, I actually reprogrammed the mother box to a different location, so Darkseid's going to really regret teaching me how to do that, as we see Darkseid floating through space, turning into a Darkseid popsicle. I don't know of a quick way to say that, except for that's what it was.
Yeah. Sidesicle, Darkseidsicle. We'll workshop it with our marketing department. So after Mom and Pop can't realize their homeowner rates are about to go way up, there's a weird extended joke about Supergirl pounding. I don't know why. It's like, I'm really good at pounding and it's supposed to be really funny, but was this mentioned before? Or
it didn't hit. It didn't.
No, it didn't. It missed completely.
Yeah.
And so the last scene, we get Supergirl back on Themyscira. Superman's making this big announcement. He's announcing that his cousin is ready to start helping, and she's got on her new crop top super suit, which, you know, your midriff is exposed, and you know how I feel about exposed midriffs on costumes. Don't care, you're vulnerable. And the movie ends with the two flying around, hopefully to some future story that's not this one.
Yep, that is our film. So now it's time to figure out if this is sweet or sour. But before we do so, don't be like Darkseid and floating off into space and missing this upcoming podcast. Definitely check out one of these podcasts from our Forgotten Entertainment family members. And just don't be Darkseid.
Do you like beer?
Do you like podcasts?
Do you like beer podcasts?
Then check out Crackin' One Open, a podcast about brews, news, and pop culture reviews.
Every week, we crack open a new craft beer from breweries around the country.
And sometimes the world.
We'll talk about how it was made, what's in it, the history of the brew, and the brewery.
Then we'll give our tasting notes, and while we're finishing up, we'll talk about some of the latest goings-on in the world of pop culture.
So check out Crackin' One Open with Mike and Elise, part of the Forgotten Entertainment family.
All right, so that was a Forgotten Entertainment podcast you should be listening to when you're not listening to ours. So now it's time for our final rating of this film. In 2010, when Superman Batman Apocalypse dropped, and now we are in currently 2022, is this movie sweet or sour?
This is a sour, sour lemon.
Yeah.
I mean, this movie, the major problems of this movie boil down to the time things happen. The 2 months at Themyscira is completely arbitrary because we don't see a simple basic storytelling problem. We don't know if Supergirl became better at fighting. We are told that she had trouble controlling her abilities, but she doesn't really have to do that during her Themyscira training, which would have been interesting to see. If it wasn't her losing a sword fight, it was her learning not to break someone during a sword fight. That would have made more logical sense as we're going in. But the movie continuously foregoes logic to get to the next plot point, to the fact where her whole turn to the dark side, literally arc, is so glanced over that we have no emotion to it. We're there and she's just like, I want to kill my cousin, but we don't feel anything because we haven't seen what she's gone through. And it seems like she's been there 2 minutes and they don't bother to tell us if it's been longer. So a lot of the movie's issues come down with timing, character motivations make absolutely no sense. Even Darkseid's grand plan, he just was like, oh, at the end, he's like, instead of trying to take Kara back to Apocalypse, he says, you know what? I'm just going to leave her. Why?
Yeah.
I don't tell me he honors the promise with Batman that severely. Like I don't see it. I don't see why a lot of things happen. And right off the bat, I can say my Arte alteration is to do something bigger with Barda. Literally. I think she has such an interesting story of leaving Darkseid and making her own path that could have really lined up nicely with Supergirl. What if they meet when she's on Themyscira and the two train together and she has the instincts of a Fury, and when they get captured, they both get captured. They both end up in Apocalypse and trying to fight out of Apocalypse. Because just having her say Wonder Woman was so cool, we don't know who Barda is. We don't know why she's here. So just give Barda something more to do. I think that would have helped some of the Kara stuff. It's not a complete fix because this movie needs more work, but that's the main thing. How do you feel? What is this landing for you?
Oh man, it is so sour. This is soured over time. Honestly, I feel bad for saying it, mainly because this is our, I want to say, a full kind of sit down introduction to Supergirl. This is out. We've had the main points I've known of Supergirl are the original movie, which does take some creative liberties when it comes to just like her identity, her connection to Superman. I don't even think it ever actually even gets addressed that she's a cousin of Superman in the original film. Then we have the animated series in which Superman, the Superman animated series in which she gets introduced in, I believe it was season 3 or 4 of it. And then at this point in which this film came out, Smallville would just be about ending. So we already had that introduction of Supergirl there. So this is probably the most we ever gotten of Supergirl. And at the time, it would have been great because it's such a great story that includes so many parts of the Superman mythos. But now that we've gotten to a point where we have so much Supergirl content out there, we have another one on the way. It just feels like this one definitely fell short. Like it felt like we spent more time with just like planet hopping and like area hopping than we did with even addressing who Supergirl is. Like she doesn't even get a title card in this film. If it wasn't for the fact, it's just because it's called Apocalypse, Superman, Batman, Apocalypse. There is no mention of her in this. So it's clear that even if she's supposed to be a main plot point, was she going to be a main focus? And it feels like that really didn't happen. And also, it's something that comes up a lot in the film, in which she's talking about why can't she just make her own decisions? And it's like, well, one, yes, you are very superpowered, so we have to make sure that you at least know how to act in the world. But then also it's like, why can't she? But then also, what are your decisions? Like, it doesn't seem like we get a sense of really who she is, except it's just like, we just have to deal with the fact that Supergirl is here. And it's just like, what do you do when you have like a megaton warhead flying around with within the capabilities of a teenager? And I think the entire film was not an ideal storytelling for me. Now, I will say it is probably one of the best fights I've ever seen Supergirl in, because that Supergirl Darkseid fight is hands down some of the best ones I've seen. I think it's one of the ones that gets like thrown around a lot on social media too, because it's trying to show like how good of a fighter Supergirl is, how great of a fighter that Superman is, and also Darkseid's willing to give in that work. But we lose a lot, I feel, with just like trying to go through all these different scenarios in which Supergirl gets placed in, or Kara gets placed in, as like everybody else is trying to dictate where her life is taking her. And I agree, I wanted more of Barda. I think we're at a point now where it's just like we need something dealing with Barda. There's too much of a rich history there to just leave it to be that like you have to infer from Easter eggs. Like, this seems like we're at that point now where it's just like, give us something with Barda. Show us how she rose through the ranks as like a person on Darkseid's like honor guard, and then how she brought herself here. Because I felt like, honestly, she was the only character in the film that I felt like a connection to, and I felt like I spent the least amount of time with her.
Yeah, I agree. I think she is just so underutilized, and yeah, there's so much you could do. Like, they had a little Mr. Miracle tease in there, I saw too. But we don't really get enough to work with her. I think it would be very cool to do a Wonder Woman Barda movie, like a team up of some sorts, live action or animated. I think it'd be cool to have those two bounce off each other during a movie because they have comparable strength.
Yeah.
But yeah, utilize her more. Like, last week we were I was remember being so pleasantly surprised by Power Girl and her story, and I was really into that. And I was kind of hoping they could do something do that here, but they don't really do that with either Barda or Supergirl. I think Power Girl legitimately has more character development and more of an arc in that movie than both those characters combined here.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And honestly, I kind of wish that it was reversed in a way. Like, in a different scenario, there's a whole thing with like Power Girl and who she really is, but it kind of would have been cool if it was like we did this movie first, where and it doesn't even play out like this in the comics. The way that happens in the comics is exactly how it plays out in our films, or two back-to-back films here. But I kind of wish they did like, we introduced Kara in that first set of films, in that first film, and then maybe Power Girl, like, have like, if it is end up being staying here as Power Girl, that's totally fine. If it ends up being Supergirl and she ends up like siding with Lex during that thing, like, that would have been kind of like a great transition, because Power Girl and Supergirl are basically the same person. So it's weird that like Batman was so willing to trust Power Girl over Supergirl, when it's like, I feel like we know less about Power Girl than we know about Kara at this point. So yeah, it's weird that I kind of wish that it was a little bit reversed, and maybe Power Girl was just like grown up Supergirl.
Yeah, that would have worked better, because there would have been a bigger debate about independence and identity that we just don't get here. It's just really all exposition and mouth service, but there's really not a deep dive, as deep of a dive as I would have liked.
Yeah. That does bring me over to now our comic book section, which, to be honest, there wasn't that much of a deep dive that they added into the comics either. Mainly because this comic and this film are approximately 98% the same.
Okay. No big surprises.
Yeah, no big surprises, except actually there is one that I'm going to be counting as our WTF moment in comics. Because this comic, once again, it is the second arc of the Superman Batman comics that was put together by Jeff Loeb. This time, instead of Ed McGuinness, who did the first arc, we have Michael Turner, who's providing the coloring and the pencils for this one. And this story takes place in issues 8 through 13 of the same series. It's called the Supergirl from Krypton story arc that ran from May of 2004 and wrapped up in like either September or October of 2004. In this, as I mentioned, it is more or less the same story, same introduction of Kara, same influences of like the aftermath of the kryptonite meteor crashing into Earth, like the bits and pieces of it. They find Kara, they get taken in by Wonder Woman and Themyscira. Darkseid wants to bring Kara in. They end up fighting the Doomsday clones, and they also end up having to go to Apokolips. Everything's the same except for the end. And this is why I'm shocked to say this. The end of the movie is way better than the end of the story arc.
Okay. I don't see how, but how?
So this is our WTF moment in comments, at least for me. So basically what happened was at the end of the story, Kara wakes up in Themyscira. She sees the tribute to Lyla Harbinger, and she also does the whole Allura thing to Batman, showing that she knows her mother's name now. As they are heading to Smallville, at this moment, Kara has already accepted that she wants to become Supergirl. Before, in the movie, it was after the battle with Darkseid. That's when she decided to become a champion and become a fighter. This time around, she decides to do it to honor Lyla, which is a nice, sweet moment here. And as they're flying over to Smallville and they go to the door, Darkseid does the same thing, punches through, starts attacking them. And when in the movie and in the comic, Clark gets hit by the Omega Beams first, but then Kara jumps in to defend him. In the movie, she just gets knocked out by the Omega Beams. In the comic, she gets disintegrated into dust.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Superman automatically thinks that she's dead, so he immediately starts attacking Darkseid, to the point very similar to how we saw in our film. He's just giving Darkseid the work. He uses the boom tube that Darkseid came out of. I think he also knows how to reprogram it in the comics, but he uses it to fly Darkseid over to the Source Wall, which is the end of time space in our universe, where it's actually a prison for, like, they're operating it as a prison for the worst of the worst, where he takes Darkseid and pushes him against the Source Wall, where he's trapped with the rest of the Too Scary for the Multiverse villains.
Interesting. And that's just it? That's how it ends?
That's how it ends for Darkseid. Superman flies back home, where he is now met by the entire Justice League. The other thing that does happen too is that Wonder Woman does join in on the fight against Darkseid to help Clark out for a quick second. But as he flies back, he sees the entire Justice League is already rebuilding his family's farm. Like, Green Lantern has actually already bought I guess with Bruce Wayne's money, or may have actually bought it himself, bought a tractor to replace the tractor that was broken during the fight. And Batman walks over in this glass container filled with the dust that was Kara, to hold it as an urn for Kara, to bring as an urn for Superman. Superman heads on over to Themyscira because it seems like we're going to do a kind of like lay her ashes somewhere, keep it somewhere safe. And he walks through this portal where we see that Kara is still alive.
Okay, just randomly Omega beam somewhere else, I guess.
Nope. So Kara is saved by Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman kept an eye on her for Themyscira and somehow used a teleportation device to switch her with a set of dust that Superman believed to be Kara, because it was his plan all along to pretend that Kara died, so that Darkseid, thinking that he killed her, will never come back for them again. But he was saying that he told the League to do this plan because he needed it to be believable enough in any scenario that like he'd be willing to go the extra mile to take out Darkseid. And that's what he did. This is when he talks to Kara. She's like, he tells her that you can now be wherever you want to be. You do whatever you want to do. We want to give you that opportunity now. And eventually she decides with some time that she wants to become Supergirl again. So she dons the costume, gets introduced to the entire rest of the league and the teams, the Outsiders, the Teen Titans, the JSA, the JLA. So basically it was a roundabout way to bring us back to the beginning of her being introduced to Supergirl.
No. I don't care for this at all. Especially since he eventually put Darkseid in a prison, so it really wouldn't have mattered, the whole fake death thing. It just seems cheap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that was the major difference. One thing that they also did include, which I wish that they did more of, maybe in this one in the film, was that the Trinity, they each talk about the sidekick that they lost in comparison to Superman having Kara taken away from him by Darkseid. Superman at one point is very aggravated over the fact of everything. It's a plot point that continues on throughout the entire story, in which he's mad at Batman for enacting the plan with Wonder Woman to have Kara be taken, and also for not accepting Kara from the get-go. Also that Kara was basically taken from Paradise Island, so that's why he's mad at Wonder Woman. But the main thing is that they have a conversation about what it was like to lose their person, like their sidekicks. For Batman is Jason Todd, for Wonder Woman is Donna Troy, and Superman says something that Batman's just like, I'm going to talk to him about this later because I didn't appreciate the fact that he brought up Jason Todd. And it continues on as a plot point for Batman and his internal monologuing, in which he's like, he does it, and it's like right between the moment in which Batman Hush, where Clayface pretends to be Jason, brought back to life, and right before it's revealed that Jason is still alive thanks to the Lazarus Pit. So it's that moment where it's just like Batman's like wondering, he's mad at Superman for bringing that up in that way, but also is toying with him because he's now understanding why Superman is upset as he is about Kara not being protected, because here is a moment in which Kara was taken and Batman and Superman's willing to do anything for it, and Superman is trying to explain to them that like, y'all will do it in the same way given your scenarios, and Batman's now trying to process that.
Yeah, okay. And that would have been a nice little thing. I mean, not like this movie could have handled that, but
yeah, no.
It would have been nice to include.
Mm. But yeah, that was the two major things. Basically, the conversation about lost sidekicks and some weird convoluted way of witness protection, I guess.
When all else fails, get your teleporter and a little bit of dust, and you can fool anyone. And I know we've been it seems like we're just doing a Superman and Batman season. It's not true at all, because we got something different for you next time around.
Yes, thank Oa, because we are finally gonna get a chance to talk about a new hero, Green Lantern. So in the meantime, take care of yourselves, and remember that if you see a naked person walking in the streets and they're walking towards you, don't be creepy. Try to help. If anything, offer a jacket. Don't offer a weird hand.
Yes. And the next time you go to your parents' farmhouse, just be ready to throw hands. In any scenario, you never know. You never know.
You never know. That's true.